What to look for in a man? What are the inherent qualities that will make a good partner, a good husband? It is important for you to know what to look for in a man, what makes a good husband, a good boyfriend. Have you ever considered that maybe you haven't found a mate, a boyfriend, a husband, because you keep looking for all the wrong things in a man, or because you keep looking for things that are not essential to the happiness of a couple? I'm going to share with you today what I have learned after over 15 years as a feng shui consultant, working with clients who were both single and married. If you haven't yet watched my other webinar, Why Exceptional Women Can't Find Love, I also suggest that you watch that one because these two videos, these two webinars are complementary to each other. First, let's talk about what most women look for in a man. Whether it is that women are hardwired or culturally programmed to look for these characteristics in a man, I am not the person to tell. But this is what I have observed when women have hired me and one of their goals in life was to find a mate. These are the things that come up. So when a woman hires me and a main objective is to find a partner and they want to see if feng shui can help them with that, I will ask the client how she visualizes the man of her dreams. And this is what most of my clients say, or this is the order in which they express their desires, what they look for in a man. A lot of women start with the height, and most women will say tall, he has to be tall. Then they move on to the eye color, gray eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, dark eyes, whatever it is their preference. Then the hair color, then the build, then certain particular characteristics. For example, somebody might want a chisel nose or a square jaw or a split chin. Somebody might say they want a very fit body, the six-pack showing, strong pecs, strong arms. When I ask my clients, what else? How else do you visualize this ideal man for you? They will move on to the occupation and they will say, oh, I would like a doctor, a lawyer, a financial planner, a businessman, an entrepreneur, and any other occupation that is part of their fancy. When I ask my clients, okay, what else? How else do you visualize this perfect man for you? And then they move on to property. They start talking about the things this ideal man has, the kind of car that he drives, the kind of house that he lives in. Many times they'll say he has a house with a pool, he makes a lot of money, or he has a good dress sense, he knows to dress really well, he has a sense of style, very well groomed. And when I further ask, okay, well, continue, go on, they will move on to talking about interests and abilities. For example, they will say, I want a man that loves the outdoors, that has concern for the environment, that will go with me to the gym. I would like for him to be a good dancer. I would like a man who likes to travel because I like to travel. I want to see the world. At this point, I usually will ask them, okay, well, can you tell me something about that man in particular, about the way he is, his personality? And instead of talking about the personality that the man they visualize as their ideal partner has, what most women describe is the dating style of guys. For example, they will say, treats me like a queen or a princess. I want a man that is romantic, that sweeps me off my feet, that takes me to nice places, who does not mind spending money, and who's a good kisser or a great lover. And these dating styles that a man can have are not necessarily a reflection of how the man would be as an actual boyfriend or husband. It is just how the women is part of how they play the dating game. And if you talk to many married women, you will hear that it is a very common complaint that they regret that their partner does not do the things that he used to do when they were dating anymore since they got married. So I want to emphasize, in short, when women are asked, describe the ideal man, your ideal mate, they will describe what the man looks like, what the man owns, what the man does, what the man likes, and the man's dating style. And there is nothing wrong with this list of things that women make. There's nothing wrong with wanting a guy that likes to do some of the things you like. There's nothing wrong with wanting a guy that is fit, that has beautiful eyes or a great face, or that has dress sense. And there's nothing wrong with wanting a man that has a certain degree of financial security and who has experienced professional success. There is nothing wrong with that. However, you could make a list with all the things that are important to you in this sense. What you like, what kind of a man would be easy on the eye for you, the kind of success he has had professionally, the kind of property that he owns, the interests and abilities that this man has, and his dating style. And the result could still be a drug dealer, an abusive person, a person that's not completely there, a drug addict, a person with mental problems. And so, as you can see by this, by looking at the list of things that women usually tell me that they're looking for in a guy, they are not going to the core values in a man. Again, there is nothing wrong with wanting all those other things. However, you should look for those other things only after you have encountered the 5 most important qualities in a man that I am going to share with you today from the viewpoint of what my feng shui experience has taught me over a period of over 15 years. When working with female clients and they make these lists of what they want their man to be like, I will ask them, what about basic human values like being honest, faithful, sane, being responsible, reliable, trustworthy, a good provider, being kind, forgiving? And then women will tell me, oh, well, that's a given, of course, that. But it's interesting to note that they only think about these things after I mention them, and they are not the first things that come to mind when they are asked to make a list of what they look for in a man. Now, you're looking at this list of qualities probably now and saying, yes, of course, I would like that in a man. I would like a man that has all these qualities. But these qualities are hard to figure out when you are just dating someone. And some of them you might not even be able to confirm until you have been dating for a long time. So what follows are 5 things to look for in a guy that are relatively easy to discern after just a short period of dating or being friends, and which are essential in making a good partner. What to look for in a guy? A quick short summary here for you. The first thing to look for is the size of baggage. The second thing, a willingness to improve. Number 3, manageable vices. Number 4, kindness towards the weaker. And number 5, generosity. Let's look at number 1, size of baggage. Now, you know that every person in the world has baggage of some kind, and here I mean emotional, spiritual, mental baggage from the things that have happened in their early life or at any time in their life that have been traumatic for them. And this could include an accident a person had at any age, abuse they were subjected to when they were children, or a previous failed relationship. People with similar sizes of baggage can understand and emotionally contain each other. When the size of the baggage is too different, one partner cannot understand the emotional processes of the other. So I am going to share with you a case history to make this easier to understand, because some people will tell you, well, you need to look for a guy that has very little baggage, and the less baggage he has, the better. And this is not necessarily true. Of course, a guy with less baggage is probably going to be emotionally healthier and more emotionally available. However, he might not be able to contain you if the size of your own baggage is larger. Let me show you with a case history. I'm going to tell you the story of Karina and Steve. Karina had a very troubled childhood. she was extremely neglected. She wasn't so much the victim of abuse, just she was terribly neglected. She was left to grow like a weed, and with very little direction in her life and very little love. So when Karina became a teenager, she was very rebellious and she went through a very troublesome stage. Karina's mother called the police on her one day and had her arrested. Another time, she told Karina that she was sick and tired of her attitude and she had her committed in a mental institution. She told lies to the police and to the psychologist to have her evaluation done, to have her diagnosed as schizophrenic. And so Karina ended up spending 7 months in a mental institution when there was nothing really wrong with her mind. In that institution, Karina found for the first time a person that would give her attention, and this was a social worker who worked with her with therapy. And for the first time, she had a person who would listen to her. But in the midst of this desperation that Karina felt, there was a person who taught her some life skills, communication skills, social skills that she did not have because of the way she was raised. When Karina came out, she straightened out her life and went back to study, and she got her GED. And she got a job and she was doing really well. And that's when she met Steve. When Karina met Steve, she was in a really good place. Steve, on the other hand, he was raised in a very functional family. They had their problems, it wasn't perfect. In his house, there was simply not a lot of drama going on. And so he was totally in love with Karina, and he just wanted to get along and be happy, have a happy family. But what happened is that when Karina had a crisis from all the baggage that she had that had not been addressed and healed and cleared, he would just tell her things like, don't worry about that. Don't be thinking about what your mother did, what your cousin did, what your grandmother did. You're with me now. We are happy. We have 2 beautiful children. And, just let it go. Just forgive. Leave everything in the past and just move on. Because without him having ever experienced any significant trauma, that's the way he sees life and that works for him. Now, Karina, whenever Steve gave her this type of advice, she just wanted to strangle him because she felt that he was not understanding her and she felt that he was making light of her suffering. So, Karina and Steve eventually separated. It was not because of lack of love, it was because Steve could not contain Karina, but it was also because Karina never sought to really confront her demons and resolve her situation. And this is our lead into the second thing to look for in a man. And that is the willingness to improve. So, in the one hand, you want to have a similar size of baggage, and I'll tell you right now, the best partner for you is probably a man who had a similar size of baggage to yours, but who has already been working on his own healing. So a man that has gotten over his neurosis, so to speak, through therapy or other type of healing work. But even a man that has done a lot of work on himself still needs to have that willingness to improve. So it's important to confront those things about ourselves that are not the way they should be, and to have a willingness to improve. Seek help if necessary. You want a man that is able to accept that he is not a finished product, that has awareness of his shortcomings, and a willingness to seek help if necessary. So here I want to make an emphasis here. It is awareness of his shortcomings, the ones he identifies in himself, not the ones that you see on him and that you repeat to him during nagging attacks, right? So that's not what we're looking for. We're not aiming at you finding everything that's wrong with the guy and telling him. We are looking for a guy that is already able to look at himself and say, hey, there's room for improvement here. You want this man to be willing to seek help, either from studying, reading books, seeking therapy or healing, changing his nutrition, joining a group, a church or a community, joining a gym, whatever challenges he is facing, it is important that he have an attitude of wanting to improve and being eager and ready to do the things he needs to do to get better. Here I want to share with you a case history to make this a little more real. So this is the story of Jeremy and Patty, and remember that whenever I share case histories with you, I always change the names and some details in order to protect the privacy of my clients. Jeremy and Patty fell in love when they were in college. They had similar size of baggage. They could understand each other, they could contain each other. She had gone through some very rough things as a child, and he also had gone through some very rough things as a child. And for a while, the relationship prospered because they could really understand and contain each other. However, Patty had this awareness of what was going on with her, and she didn't want to live with like this all her life. She didn't want to have this resentment and this fear approaching life as a victim. She realized that this was not the way to live. So she sought help, and she started getting better and better and better through therapy. While Jeremy was in denial of his issues, living under the illusion that he could control his traumas, that he could, through willpower, make himself better, and that's just not the way healing works. And so Patty saw a decline in him over time, and it started with small physical things. For example, he started only wearing old clothes with holes in them. Then he stopped spending money on a good haircut and tried to cut his hair himself, which was very, very uneven. And then he started gaining weight. And now, I'm not saying this to emphasize that a person should always be attractive in order to be loved or lovable. But what we're looking at here is a direction of decline that Jeremy showed. People will either get better or will get worse, but they don't stay stationary. People just don't stay as they are forever and ever and ever. There's always going to be a direction towards improvement or towards decline. And this also is a relationship that ended because Jeremy did not want to face his issues. And as Patty worked on her issues, she no longer felt that she was on the same page with Jeremy. Then Jeremy started using drugs and then further disconnecting from Patty. And so here's another case where the relationship ended, and it was not because lack of love. Patty loved Jeremy very much, and Jeremy loved Patty very much. But Jeremy's unwillingness to make himself better finally drove Patty away. A person can only get better when they want to get better. No other person can force them to get better. I'm sure you know that. The number 3 characteristic to look for in a man is manageable vices. And I have made a collage here of a number of vices, and some of these are worse than others. Some of them you're going to see in the next slide I'm calling traditional vices, and the others are more new, sort of newer vices, and sometimes harder to recognize as a vice. Let's define vice. A vice is a thing that a person likes to do, even though it's bad for them. Not every person has addictions, but every person has a vice. The size of that vice may be little or bigger. Some of those vices are more objectionable in social terms than others. Some of these vices are not even recognized as vices. So let's make this difference. We're not talking about addictions here, where the person is actually being destroyed by these habits. And here we're going to talk not just about how the man manages his vices, but also about how the woman is able to live with these vices or not. These are quote-unquote traditional vices, and that could be alcohol, smoking, gambling, being a womanizer, doing drugs. And again, we have to differentiate here. And I know there is a very fine line between a vice and an addiction, especially when you're talking about drugs. So, for example, you could have a person that smokes pot occasionally, and that would be a vice, unless the person is taking it for medical reasons. But you could hardly say that a person is taking heroin as a vice and it's not an addiction, because heroin is immediately addictive. Now, if you're looking at alcohol, there's all these ranges in being a social drinker to being an alcoholic. There's like so many shades of gray that you could have in there. I'm going to share with you about some of these vices that I have seen in couples that are manageable. I'm thinking of this couple that were in their early 60s, and the man, after he was done with work, he would always come home and have a beer before dinner. And he did that every single day. He was unhappy if there was no beer. He'd actually get in the truck and go to the store and get some beer. And he never failed to drink this bottle of beer. Now, he did not create any trouble from doing this. He was not mean. He did not lose control in any way. And life went on very peacefully, very domestically in this home. So this is an example of when alcohol is a vice that is manageable. Now, I know I probably would not be okay with a man that wanted to drink some type of alcohol every day. But I know many women who would be, and I know many women who also want to have a drink every day. And so you have to look at these two things: how well a man manages something and how willing to live with it you are. Then comes smoking, and we know that nicotine is one of the most addictive substances in the world, but it is sort of socially accepted in the sense that it's not illegal. It has never been illegal, like alcohol used to be illegal. I know a woman who loved the smell of smoke in a man's hands combined with a man's cologne. If it's crucial for you that a man not smoke, you probably should not be dating smokers. And then if you are dating a smoker and you don't mind, how much smoking do you not mind, and how much does a man have to smoke before you start minding that he smokes? Things to look at. Gambling. There are people who have a gambling budget every month. They get their paycheck, they go to the casino, they spend only that. If they win, they take their winnings home. If they lose, they lose, and they don't start gambling on their credit card or anything like that. And so gambling can be a very manageable vice. Being a womanizer. I know for a lot of modern women, this would be like such a sin, like something that you could probably never forgive if your man ever went out with another woman. But there are cultures, I come from such a culture where a lot of women don't mind so much if the man strays once in a while. It may be hard to understand for you. It's definitely hard to understand for me. That's not something that I would do. But there are women that are okay with that. And we had already talked about drugs. Let's look at other vices that may not even be recognized as vices, but I encounter all the time when I do consultations for couples, and which create a lot of friction between the man and woman. So one of those is having the TV always on. If a person can't be at home without the TV playing in the background, that could be a problem. If a person is constantly checking social media, takes their phone to the table, takes the phone to bed, check their messages in bed, this can become a problem. Computer games. How willing are you to live with a man, for example, that spends 2 or 3 hours a day playing computer games? That's a call you need to make, and that's something you need to know about the guy before you embark in a serious relationship. Sports is another vice, and I'm not talking here about practicing sports. I'm talking here about being a fanatic of sports to a point that when the season of whatever sport the man is a fan of is on, you cannot count on that man for anything at times when games are playing. And for some women, this might be a plus because they also love to watch sports. For other women, it would be unbearable. So, what sport is the man into? How much time does he devote to it? And here we're talking again, especially about watching sports, not necessarily practicing sports. But it also can become an issue. For example, I know couples where the man practices an extreme sport, and in order to practice this extreme sport, the man is gone the whole weekend, every single weekend. So if you are going to marry a man like this and you don't want to go do the extreme sports with him, you need to measure, you need to gauge if you would be able to live with this. And then there is junk food. One thing you need to look at is how do you like to eat on a regular basis. And I'm not talking about how do you want to eat when you go out on a date, when you go to the movies, when you go watch a game at a sports bar or whatever it is. I'm talking about how you want to eat most of the time. And how does he want to eat most of the time? Would you be okay, for example, with a man who came home carrying a bag from a fast food place and would rather eat that than the dinner you prepared for him? The fourth thing to look for in a guy that would make a good potential partner is kindness. And here we're talking about especially kindness to the weaker and disadvantaged. So look at how a man behaves towards animals, towards children, and towards the elderly. Kindness to animals. Do animals like him or are they afraid of him? How does he use his superiority around animals? Here it is important to make a distinction. Being kind to animals is not the same as liking animals, because a person can like animals and be cruel to them. You might think that is an oxymoron and that doesn't happen, but that actually happens. There can be a person who likes animals but could easily turn to cruelty when he has had a few drinks or when he's had a bad day. You need to ask these questions. If he has any animals or when he's interacting with animals, does he put them in dangerous situations or does he like to humiliate them or play tricks on them? It's similar when talking about kindness to children. How does the man react when children act obnoxious around him? Not how the man relates to children when children are being playful and funny and well behaved, but how does he react when they are really, really obnoxious? Because, children will get obnoxious. And how does he respond to children's needs? So you may want to look at how does he react at a restaurant if a child is crying or being a pest. Again, liking children and being kind to children is not the same thing. There are men who like to play with children and at the same time they also like teasing them or humiliating them, or putting them in situations where they would not know what to do or where he can laugh at them. Watch out for those. Kindness to the elderly. Check out for these. How does he treat the elderly in general in social situations or on the street? What kinds of comments does he make about them? How does he relate to his older friends and family members? Now, here we do have to have a disclaimer, and that is that you generally will find less kindness in good guys when they are very young. For example, a kid in high school or in college might have expressions of unkindness towards the elderly, for example, or say that he can't stand being around children. And that is not such a big quote unquote sin when a person is young, but as a person matures and is reaching his 30s, his 40s, there should be an increase in kindness that comes with maturity. Generosity. Generosity is the fifth thing to look for in a man. And here we're talking about all types of generosity, generosity with time, money, and effort especially. Generosity of time. Will this man that you're interested in set aside time for the things that you like to do or do things with you? Or is he always wanting you to set aside your interests and your acquaintances in order to spend time with him? This can give you a sign of how this person is going to be if you get married or over time. A man who doesn't make time for you when you are dating may not make time to go watch the kids' game or to go watch the school play. Generosity of effort. Is this guy willing to do things for others? Does he help his friends when they need it? Does he help his family? Is he willing to help you? Is he willing to put effort in the relationship and to put effort in doing things that are only for you or only important to you? I had a client who moved. She was moving from one condo to another condo at a time, and her boyfriend did not show up to help her move. When she asked him why he didn't show up, he said, "Oh, well, I have a bad back." But he could have shown the day that she was moving and he could have helped her pack. Or he could have been supervising that things were carried neatly by her other friends. but he didn't even show up. So that shows stinginess in effort. Generosity with things. The things that are precious. How does the guy relate to the things that are very valuable to him? For example, is he so obsessed with his sports car that he doesn't want anybody to ever touch it? Does he love his tools so much he never lets anybody else use them? These can give you cues as to how he might be as a partner. Does he value things more than people, basically? And of course, there is generosity with money. Does he think it's a good idea to set money away for vacations, or does he think that's a waste of money? Does he contribute to his church? Does he make donations to worthy causes? Does he give you nice gifts? And here, I'm not trying to say that a man that doesn't give you gifts is a bad person, but giving gifts is a way to show love, and it is a way to show that you remember the person and that you care for the person. They don't necessarily have to be huge gifts. The way that a guy relates to money is a sign of how willing he is to be involved in a community. And as a marriage, the chances of being happier, according to Feng Shui, increase if you are part of a community. I want to add here one more type of generosity, and that is generosity of feelings. Generosity of feelings means that a guy is willing to look at his own feelings, emotions, and just simply feel them. This kind of a guy is going to be more open and willing to discuss problems in the relationship when they are still small, which is very important for the success of a couple. A man with generosity of feelings also allows the woman to have the thoughts she has and the feelings she has and to be who she is without knocking her down for it. And this generosity of feelings in being able to recognize and feel his own feelings and recognize the feelings of others are essential qualities in the ability to negotiate and compromise. Women tell me sometimes that they look for certain characteristics in a man because that gives them a clue as to what kind of a lover they're going to be. And so they say, oh, he has to be a great kisser because a great kisser is usually a good lover. Or, well, if he's a great dancer, he probably is going to be a good lover. And the number one characteristic of a good lover is generosity. Because of the differences between the way that a man's body and a woman's body responds to intimacy, having generosity of time is going to make a big difference on how satisfied you are in a physical relation with that man. And also generosity of feelings. You are more likely to have a satisfying relationship with a man who allows you to be who you are, have the thoughts you have, and the feelings you have. Now, I am not saying here that you need to look for a man who's never going to question anything you do or not ever let you know when you are off track and when you are doing things that you shouldn't be doing. That's not the case. What I'm talking about here is a man that does not project his own shortcomings or his own insecurities on you and therefore is able to allow you to be who you are. You can save yourself a lot of heartache if you look for these 5 characteristics I have talked about today, and then look for the other requirements that are important to you. So, before you look for a man who has the physical characteristics you would like to see, before you look for what kind of profession he's in and all these other details, before you even consider him as a potential partner, check out for these things: the size of his baggage, his willingness to improve, how manageable are his vices. It's very rare that you're going to find a man or any person with no vices, even that if that vice is as little as, chocolate. Kindness towards the weaker and generosity. How Feng Shui can help you manifest a good man. By manifesting here, I am not saying that you are going to just think positive thoughts and quote unquote attract the ideal man for you. The ideal man for you is out there and is also looking for the same things you are looking for. Otherwise, this person would not be an ideal partner for you. And so when I use the word manifest here, I'm talking about creating the conditions in your life where your deeper mind would come into agreement with you that it is a good time to find a mate, to find a partner, and that you would have clear goals and targets as to what it is you are looking for. Because everybody around you, all your contacts, or the people who could introduce you to one of your friends, who could invite you to a certain party or a certain event, these people are picking up from you the cues on what kind of a man you're looking for. So when you improve the cues that you are sending out to your friends, your family, your community, your chances of finding a man that's going to be good for you increase. Your own deeper mind is going to be more alert to find that which you are looking for, and also to look for it in places where you may not have thought to look for. I'm going to give you a little piece of homework here, and this is to ask all the married people that you know how they met, and make a note of the places where they met and the circumstances in how they met, just to give you ideas of what places you might go to in order to look for a guy that is good for you. When we do a feng shui consultation for a client, in order to assist them to find a partner that is good for them, we work both with the conscious mind and the deeper mind. For the conscious mind, we work on the master bedroom by making sure that the master bedroom is expressing their conscious desire to find a man that is good for them and that understands that even though they are not equal, they are equally important. And I have a photo, a stock photo of a bedroom over here. This bedroom would need a lot of work to become a good bedroom for a couple. One of the things that you learn in the course that I am offering that you can see on this page, or if you're watching this in YouTube, you can see a link in the description that will take you to that page, is that you learn how to set up your master bedroom from scratch. From what type of bed is the best for a couple, what type of headboard you should choose, what other furniture you need to have in the bedroom, what kinds of images to have in the bedroom and what kind of images to avoid in the bedroom, what kind of photographs to include, what kind of photographs to avoid, and what kind of symbols to include and to exclude from the master bedroom. The master bedroom, we work on the conscious desires. For your deeper, what many call the unconscious mind, we work with the relationship corner. The relationship corner is the corner that is towards the back right of the home when you are standing at the main door and looking towards the inside of the home. So in this corner is where your unconscious desires for relationships may be expressed. And many times what I find in clients who really want to find a partner and have trouble doing that is that there is not a union of desires between the conscious mind and the deeper mind. So with their conscious mind, they're asking of the universe that they want a happy relationship. But with their deeper mind, they are expressing that either they're not ready or they're afraid to commit to just one person. They fear that they might be unfaithful or that somebody might cheat on them. And that this fear is so great that they cannot truly look for a relationship that will work. Problems in the relationship corner would be, for example, to have a staircase, any type of staircase, to have a bathroom, a laundry room, a kitchen. The good news is that Feng Shui offers a solution for any problem that Feng Shui finds in the home. So it doesn't matter what is going on with your relationship corner, even if your relationship corner is missing, there's something that we can do in Feng Shui. So take a look at the class. On the page where you watch this video or linking to the YouTube video, you're going to have an exceptionally good deal to purchase it. I want to leave you with one last thought, and that is that when you are approaching your quest to find love, to find a guy that is good for you and who you can love and who can love you, that you flip around a behavior that most women have when looking for love. In looking for a man and knowing what to look for in a man, your ultimate goal is a partnership. Whether you get married or just decide to live together. And eventually this means sharing the same house. Either that you are going to move into his house, he's going to move into your house, or you will get together a house that is new for the two of you. And eventually, the most likely outcome of this relationship is that you will have a family. Never forget to look for the right qualities in a man, because any man that you date can potentially become the father of your children or the stepfather of your children. A man that is unkind to you will likely be unkind to your children. A man that is stingy with you will likely be stingy to your children. A man who does not allow you to be who you are, have the thoughts you have, and feel the way you feel, is likely going to do the same thing to your children. Think of the process of looking for a man with the objective of establishing a partnership as a real estate transaction. In this real estate transaction, most women act as if they were the seller, and they put themselves in this position that they're almost begging a man to like them. Please, pretty, please like me. Please love me. Please want to marry me. Please want to have a family with me. And I am going to ask you today to flip that around. And when you're looking for love, be the buyer. Be the one that is looking for what you want, what you have established that is going to be the best for you. Be the one that is saying, that is asking, is he the right one for me? Instead of thinking, I hope he loves me. Be the buyer. Respect yourself. Because in respecting yourself, you are respecting your children and your future children. Never forget that. Transform your life with Feng Shui by creating environments where your dreams of happiness are not only possible, but quite probable.